Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us this opportunity to host this special podcast, which is given the title, Let's Talk About Da'wah, East Meets West. And today we have a special guest, all the way from a country that is far away from us, which is from United Kingdom. We have Brother Muhammad Hijab on this show, and of course our CEO of IDT, which is Brother Lim Jui Sun, inshallah. So today we are going to be discussing about some of the differences and similarities of da'wah, whether be it in the East or in the West. And mashallah, both of them are very involved in terms of the da'wah, and inshallah we hope to hear their insights and their views on certain issues that we can understand better in the contextual context of it, inshallah. All right. So without further ado, I'd just like to welcome the guests. Assalamualaikum, Brother Hijab. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, alhamdulillah. How are you, Brother Lim?
Alhamdulillah, good.
Okay, all right. So both of you look already ready for this, yeah?
Very ready, and it's a coincidence that we're in the same colors as well. You notice we're both wearing grey shirt.
Yeah.
Kind of a uniform, really.
Uniform, yeah? Uniformity, yeah?
Yes.
Unity, not uniformity.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, so alhamdulillah, actually we have just arrived from Jakarta for the Muhammad Hijab Indonesia tour.
It was a national event, wasn't it?
National event, yeah? Mashallah.
Is that what you said?
Yes, that's right.
You said before, this is going to be a national event.
Yeah, national
I
event.
said, no, it's not going to be a national event. It's going to be a historical one.
Exactly, brother, exactly. So, mashallah, it was good, yeah, Indonesia?
It was good. It's very interesting, very beautiful country, and it's obviously the most populated Muslim country, so it's worth going there and seeing everyone. And we've got a range. Maybe we should tell the people we've got a range of different things here in Malaysia.
Yes.
And what are the things we're doing here? So
yeah. Okay, so basically here in Malaysia, we have this podcast, of course, and this evening we have our IDT will be collaborating with IIUM, where we are going to have an event in IIUM itself, right? And after tomorrow, we have another big event.
is it a national one?
No, not national one. Yeah.
Tonight one is already full house.
Yeah, tonight one. I mean, the event for tonight was actually supposed to be here in IDT,
Oh, really?
but because of the overwhelming response that we received
Oh, wow.
from the public, we had to change venue.
Alhamdulillah.
Next time we have to get a stadium, brother.
Yes, well, let's do that. Okay, so then of course tomorrow we have a morning event from 10 till 1 p.m. with faith events, and tomorrow night we will be at University of Malaya, inshallah. So of course there are some of the highlights of Brother Hijab's tour here in Malaysia, and I think this is your second time here, right?
Second time Malaysia, yes. First time in Indonesia.
First time in Indonesia.
Yeah, it was interesting. Before that, I was in Thailand, actually.
Thailand. Oh, you mean the viral video of Muay Thai? Eh?
I was just hitting the pads, and everyone had a heart attack.
Heart attack just because of that, yeah?
Everyone had something to say.
Mashallah. So, Brother Lim, what do you think of the program in Indonesia, Muhammad Hijab's program?
Well, I think it's this. I was really surprised. I think you have huge followers in Indonesia, really huge followers. Yeah, because of weekdays, the program we do in weekdays. Otherwise, there will be a huge people. I believe that your supporter will be joining that talk actually. Yeah. And I enjoy most is the food actually.
I enjoyed most meeting both of you, to be honest.
Allah.
I'm not just saying that, honestly, just as lip service. Just having conversations with both of you has been really enlightening, really enlightening. And just this morning, I had a conversation with Brother Lim, and we were talking about some of the things in the Eastern context. And I'm sure we're going to speak about that more in this podcast, but some of the things that I basically had no idea about at all. Like what it is, like, for example, for a Chinese person, you're a Chinese Muslim. I mean, in a sense, you've obviously Malay, but Chinese heritage.
Obviously Malay? No, he's not a Malay, bro. He's Malaysian. Doesn't look Malay at all.
How do you say it?
Let me help you. I'll make it simple for you.
Malaysian Chinese.
myself, I'm Chinese product made in Malaysia.
Oh, I see. I see. That's the very great combination, I think. You know? It's a dangerous combination.
Dangerous combination.
But you were telling me about like what people actually believe. Because let's say, for example, a Westerner or someone educated in the West wants to know what people in Southeast Asia or East Asia or China believe. It can become quite confusing because they say, okay, well, these guys are Buddhists.
Yes.
But at the same time, they believe in Taoism. At the same time, they believe in Confucianism.
Yes.
So the only thing left confused is me. I mean, but you explained this morning that it's actually a mix of these things that they believe in, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that's a context that someone living in the West would not really be aware of.
Yeah. Because in general, if you say about if you see a Chinese person, you automatically think that this person is actually his or her religion is Buddhism.
Yeah.
Automatically, but you don't in the context of Malaysia, Singapore, and some parts of the other Southeast Asian countries. Actually, there is a mixture of three different religions that what Brother Lee mentioned.
Include, forget about the West people.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Arab scholar, when they give fatwa, particularly on the Chinese practices, many of them will make it haram.
Yeah.
But even include Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
But in fact, Chinese New Year got nothing to do with religion.
Yeah.
It got nothing to. It's just a celebration of the changing of season. Yeah. So many scholars who do not, if they just read through from Wikipedia, then that is a big problem.
It is a big problem. And what was really interesting as well, when you went into subdivisions, you said that Buddhists are not a monolith. There's atheist Buddhists, but there's also those Buddhists who believe in God and those.
Right.
Can you break that down for us again? Because I think that was fascinating what you were saying.
Well, when you talk about Chinese, in Malaysia, when they have to register, when they need to register in a school, they have to choose one religion. So the religion that be more glamour for the people feel better. Okay, they will put Buddhism. But in fact, their real practice is mixed.
Okay.
Now, Buddhism, there are various types of Buddhism.
Sure.
Yeah. So of course we have Mahayana.
Yeah. What is that? Can you explain?
Mahayana are those Buddhists that generally they are so-called worshipping, praying to Buddha.
Okay. They worship him.
They worship him.
Yeah. Mahayana. Okay.
So usually not only Malaysian Chinese, Singaporean Chinese, Singaporean Chinese, Honkies, the Hong Kong Chinese, Taiwanese, Japanese,
you call them
Chinese.
honkies?
You call
Honkies.
Yes. You call them?
Yes.
Sorry. Go
All
ahead.
right. So Korean Buddhists.
So a lot of these guys actually worship
this country.
the
They
Buddha.
are worshiping.
Yeah, that's right.
Really? Okay.
But their country like the Nepal, Sri Lanka, or even some part of Thailand, these are the people who do not worship him. Even some part of Malaysia, they do not worship him. They do not worship him. They treat him like a teacher.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay.
So say that again. So which countries are we talking about here?
Like Nepal.
Nepal,
You have
Sri
some part
Lanka.
of this, mostly a part of this Sri Lanka. Okay, you have some part of Thailand.
Okay.
Even we have about maybe 5 to 7% of Malaysian.
Was there a name for that kind
the
of
name
Buddhism?
called Theravada or Hinayana.
Hinayana.
Theravada or Hinayana. Either one, no problem.
So what was the first one?
Theravada.
No, the first category.
Mahayana.
Mahayana and then Theravada.
Theravada.
Okay.
So this group of people that they do not worship him.
Yes.
They believe him as a teacher. Even when they put a statue there, Buddha, they do not worship him. They just
do they believe he was inspired by God or nothing like that, right?
No. They believe that he achieved enlightenment, meaning that he achieved
Under the Bodhi tree. So if I just want to add on to this because recently I went to Nepal. All right.
Oh, interesting.
I got the chance to go. I went to a place called Lumbini, and they believe that this is the birthplace of Buddha.
Really?
And you know what? They still preserve the like a space, historical place. That they say that this is the exact spot where Buddha was born.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's the Buddhist people, they go there and they do all their like salutations, etc. for him. And I think one of the experience that I had, which is very unique here, is that I happened to be talking to a monk.
Yeah.
Right. But I found one gesture a little bit uncomfortable. He refuses to shake hand with me.
Really?
Refuses. I offer my hand. Look at me.
You look like a monk as well.
Maybe that's the case. Conflict of interest.
No, you're not dressing like him.
Yeah.
You find that you're not following the procedure of the religion.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is.
So, but mashallah, despite he doesn't want to shake hands with me, but I managed to have a good conversation with him. You know,
Okay.
with this monk.
Why didn't you want to shake hands?
I do not know.
Okay.
Even when the other like locals as well, the local Muslims that were with me tried to shake hands with him.
Only Muslims. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
they refuse. He just refused. Maybe I do not know why. I mean maybe we are unclean. No. But anyway, he also mentioned exactly like what Brother Lim said, that they don't worship Buddha.
He said that.
Yeah, they take him as a teacher,
Okay.
like a guru. Yeah, like a guru. They say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. You said there's 3 strands. So just to summarize, you said
Yeah.
the first one is the ones that do worship
Mahayana,
Mahayana, and the second one,
Theravada.
Theravada, don't worship him, take him as a guru.
Category.
So the third one, is,
Vajrayana. You know this Dalai Lama. Have you heard about Dalai
yeah,
Lama?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So he's the leader
yeah.
for this
Vajrayana.
Buddhism.
Oh, okay.
Dalai Lama. So Dalai Lama means
Uh-huh.
referring to knowledge like an ocean.
Yes.
All right. So, but this group of Buddhism, their practice a bit very far away from the other two, a bit far away. Okay, because they have a certain movement, like they would pray, they have to bow. And
So what's the vagina? What do they believe in?
say again? Same thing.
Vijayana.
Yeah, what's
Vajrayana.
What do they believe in?
They believe in Buddhism.
Okay.
Yeah,
But what
Buddha.
makes them different from A and B?
It is their ritual, is their chanting rituals.
Oh,
are
okay.
The
different.
practices. Yeah.
A bit different.
But do they believe that Buddha is God or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For that, remember, I think make things simple. For them, in their belief, Buddha is the highest level, whereas when you use God, it's the lowest level.
They think God is those though.
It's just just like you have hierarchy, right? So the
Yeah.
the highest level is Buddha, and
Yeah.
then you have certain different level.
Yeah.
So the lowest level is God. The whatever you mention about God is nothing for them.
That's ridiculous.
So,
I mean, this is what we learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I mean, this might be a silly question, but I've always had it, I had the question. Whenever we see depictions of Buddha, it's always like a very big, fat man in gold.
Yeah.
Have you seen those kind of things?
yes.
It's
Yeah.
like a sumo wrestler.
You
almost.
this one you see is Mahayana Buddhism.
Mahayana.
Yeah.
Mhm, yes.
When
But if he was meant to be like a
He's-
person who,
he's supposed to be skinny because he always do meditation.
Exactly.
He always fast.
yeah. So why do they have that? I mean,
Well, that's why I say Mahayana are different.
Mhm.
Mahayana, they will portray Buddha look,
Big.
healthy like you both.
even more healthy.
We, because of for Theravada, because Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, he always do
Yeah.
meditation and fasting. He
Yeah.
do extreme fasting.
Yeah.
At one time, when he want to search for the truth, up to a level when you put the finger at his stomach, you can touch the backbone. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Yeah, she must be very skinny. Eh?
It's very skinny. So
Yes.
that's why when you go to Theravada Buddhism,
Yeah.
the pictures of Buddha is very skinny.
Mm.
So now you can,
Oh, I
you can
see,
see
I
the
see.
difference now.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So we have talked quite a lot about Buddhism from the religions from the East. Yeah.
Sure.
I think if we were to look at the West, for example,
Okay.
people are starting to leave religion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave the religion, and they say that if they are being asked, are you which religion do you follow? They will say that I'm what they call it not religious.
Agnostic. For example.
Yeah, they're not religious. Yeah, they just mentioned they're not religious.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, brother Hijab, maybe
Yeah.
you can share with us. Yeah,
Yeah.
that how does one person who was born with a religion becomes unreligious or claims that they are not religious?
You see, I think that in the study of anthropology and human history, right, you'll always find that human beings are religious creatures. And it's not so much that human beings become irreligious as they claim in the West, for example.
Yes.
But it's just that they substitute one religion for another. So I personally believe that what's happening in the West is not a leaving off of religion, but in fact, it's actually a substitution of religion with political ideology. But they are treating it as if it's religion. And in particular, it's usually a mix between liberalism and feminism. And now what we have is kind of transgenderism that's also in left-wing circles. But if you really think about, like, let's take this example of transgenderism, right? We talk about Buddhism, or we speak about maybe pantheism and polytheism, maybe Hinduism, that's religions of the East. And if I used to, work in schools, in secondary schools as well, with young kids or teenage kids and stuff like that, and then you'd say to them, this is what people believe. They believe in multiple gods. They believe in Ganesh. They believe in Vishnu. They believe in Lakshmi. They believe in whatever. And in the past, they used to believe in a pantheon of gods. They used to believe in Hercules and Zeus and this one, Mithra, and so on. And then the kid would raise his eyebrow and say, how could they believe in such a thing? This is a weird thing. And most people in the West don't accept this kind of polytheism, right? What you're talking about in the East. But I would say what they accept is actually even a lot of people now are more difficult to prove, which is this idea of transgenderism. Because what is transgenderism? It's the idea of, I'm a man, I've got an XY chromosome.
Yes.
But I am saying that I'm a woman. Now, let me tell you the difference here, and it's a very interesting difference. If I say I'm a man with an XY chromosome, but I identify as a woman, therefore I am a woman. That's the argument. I identify as a woman, therefore I am a woman. You are not just making a claim about extra reality. You are negating a claim about reality. So, for example, if I said, I believe Hercules exists, I believe Buddha is somewhere in Mars, for the sake of argument, I believe such and such and such. Okay. Some of these claims are unfalsifiable. Like, unless someone went to Mars and checked all the places in Mars, you can't really say, for sure, 100% he isn't there. Or I believe there's some kind of unicorn in such and such a place. I mean, for sure, we couldn't falsify it to a degree of 100%, maybe 99%, but not 100. But I can falsify to a degree of 100% the notion that I am XX chromosome. I can falsify that. Yet that seems to be the mythology of the West. So the Western man has become so arrogant that he thinks that he's above and beyond every kind of mythology. But he has created the most contradictory kind of mythology probably human history has ever known. Because in the past, when they had their mythologies, there was still a chance faith could be could be believed in. There's still a chance. In this case, they are making claims about reality which are false. So the religion of the West is a kind of liberalism which has given birth to transgenderism, to queer theory, to LGBTQ theory, to all kinds of things which are causing so many consequences, but are the present day mythology.
Do you think that the pressure behind all this is because they don't want to be binded or being restricted in their beliefs, that they would just want to be free? They just want to do anything they want. They don't want to have people or a religion just to limit what they like. Do you think that is the reason behind it?
Yeah, one of the liberal philosophers, his name is Rousseau, French philosopher. He said, man is born free, but everywhere in chains.
Okay.
Man is born free, but everywhere in chains.
So what kind of solution can you provide to overcome this problem, to change their thinking, so instill, the message of Islam to them, start to bring them back to believe in God and things like that?
Well, the first thing I think is for them to realize that freedom is a made-up notion. And the kind of idealistic utopian freedom that they're, trying to get in this world is not actually a freedom. In fact, there's a verse in the Quran, very powerful verse. ضرب الله مثلا رجلا فيه شركاء متشاكسون ورجل سلما لرجل هل يستويان مثلا الحمد لله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. This is an interesting verse. It says that Allah has brought forth a similitude, an example of one man who has multiple slave owners.
Yes.
And another man who has only one slave owner.
Yes.
Are they the same in similitude? So Allah is asking the question, are they the same? Alhamdulillah, Allah is saying, praise be to Allah, that most of them don't know. The point is making in the Quran is actually quite similar to what Rousseau is saying. Because we said Rousseau is saying, man is born free, but everywhere in his chains. The Quran is saying, look, it's not that you're going to decide to be free in an absolute sense.
Yes.
It's not that you're going to decide to be out of slavery in the absolute sense. All you have to do as a human being is choose your slave master. And you have two options, either the creation or the creator.
Yes.
That's where CVC comes in.
CVC company.
So can you tell us about CVC?
Okay, so I think, Brother Lim,
Yeah.
I think we can relate this back to the concept of fitrah, right? The concept of fitrah, where humans are created with the natural inclination towards the worship of the creator, or dependent towards a greater being or greater power, right? So in your opinion, Brother Lim, in the West, they say that they are not religious. But here, they say that probably, why do we need God when we can achieve everything without the help of God? For example, I mean, like usually we see some of the, like for example, where I'm coming from, like those advanced countries, they say that, is it necessary for us to worship God? Or it's just we just use religion only for the sake of ritual, like when there is a death, then they use the religion as a form of ritual.
If you look at the West here, most people have a religion. Most people have a belief. The only thing we have different belief.
Yes.
We have different belief. This to prove one important thing: conscience, fitrah, that Allah given to human beings, is inclined towards worshiping God. Conscience.
Yes.
As long as this conscience is not corrupted, fitrah. Okay, these people actually will, in fact, they know that they have limitation. They know that they have problem that they couldn't solve. They know that the only thing that they can depend is the God, is worshiping God, ask God for help. Now, to prove one thing, that conscience that God planted in every human being, in the Surah Rum, verse 30, Allah planted this conscience. Everybody born with a good conscience. The Hadith, the Prophet said, every child that's born in this world, they are born in the stage of fitrah. It is the parents who make them to become the Jew,
Christian, Jew, major.
The Jew,
the Christian
or the Majus.
Okay. So, and when they grew up, okay, when they know about Islam, can they probably decide another thing we can talk about? What I want to say is that the conscience, okay, God planted, its original is good.
Yes.
Everybody born in the state of fitrah. Okay. Now, but because of this, fitrah can be corrupted. You be influenced. Number one, influenced by surrounding. I mean, the family members, the surrounding, the society, the social media, and so on. That once this fitrah got corrupted, that nobody corrected it. Nobody tried to, tell him that this is wrong from the very beginning. And you allow it to continue. Now it's just like you're driving a car. The alignment went the other one side, and if you leave it, what will happen? After a while, the 4/4 tire you have will have problem. So what I'm trying to say, same goes to this. That's why Islam came is actually to bring us back, to guide us back, our fitrah. Another thing that maybe a simple metaphor I can give is that if you were to look at the world map today, if you go back maybe 4,000 years ago, before a human being created the boat and so on, we are all living in the country. We're separated by the sea. Right?
Yes.
You maybe live in America. You maybe live in Philippines, Chinese,
whatever. Bro, come on. I don't say the word.
No, just put an example. If people living in China, those people who live in China those times, they only see Chinese in their life. They have experienced this. They know this is how the people looks like. In their mind, probably the rest, every part of the world, every human beings are Chinese. Am I right? Now, when fitrah, they wanted to worship God, what do? They can only create a God, means an idol. Look like who? The one that they have seen before, they have experienced before. So that's why you go to China, you look at the idol that they worship, they are Chinese. This is to show that 1,000 years ago, humans have the conscience to worship God.
Yes.
You go to India, look at the God the idol that they
have.
create. Look like it doesn't look like a Chinese. It looks like an Indian.
Does, yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense, yeah? It makes sense.
Jesus looks like a white man as well.
Yeah, exactly.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is to show that conscience that human being wanted to worship God, but the main thing is that the revelation doesn't reach them.
Yeah.
That's why they cannot compare.
Mm.
That's why they still remain there. It's just like in their life. Sorry to say, maybe a lot of people will ask, why there are so many people in this religion, that religion?
Yeah.
They have all the professional people. They have doctor, they have engineer, they have lawyer, they have, they could be prime minister, they could be president. They are so intelligent. But why they still remain in that religion?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
One of the answers, in short, I can give you to you is that because in their life only exists three things. Number one, 2 + 2 is 2, 2 + 2 is 3, 2 + 2 is 5. Because 2 + 2 is 4,
Yeah.
the revelation doesn't reach them. They can't compare. So for them is that maybe this is the best among the three.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So they still remain there.
Yeah.
Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, so mashallah, that's a good explanation about the fitra, the natural inclination
Yeah.
to worship the creator.
Mm.
Yeah, so and people need a greater power and to be dependent on the greater being. Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming back to what you have mentioned earlier, we have a question from the audience that is, can you show the question? Yeah. So here we have from a sister, Sister Azlin. Right at the bottom, please. Okay, so the sister asked, can you go lower? Yeah, this one. Yeah, the sister asked a question. So for something so obvious like the XX chromosome versus VXY chromosome, why hasn't the pushback against notions to the opposite been stronger in Western countries? Because even without religion in the mix, these are self-evident.
I think there has been a pretty significant pushback, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if you've been looking at, what especially right-wing people, neoconservatives, the alt-right, even centrists now. Like everyone's jumped on board and making mockery out of this thing.
Yes.
But I think the reason why they can't go full throttle on it is because a liberal has to say, right, I might not agree with you, but you're allowed to say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so they can't ban this thing, because if they ban it, they ban free speech. They can't say, well, you cannot say you're a woman and you're a man. But what they are starting to say is this in the West, and to give them credit, is that, okay, we're not going to ban it. Adults can do what they want. But children should be told that, okay, if you're identifying in this way and you're actually that way, that this is actually a mental disorder. That's what they're starting to say now.
Yes.
Because you're starting to see, even in school settings, this people coming and saying this kind of thing. It's a really disastrous situation, honestly. And that's one of the reasons we were talking in the car about people coming here to Malaysia or from the West. People are now migrating away from the West. People don't want to be in the West anymore, because this is one of the top 3 reasons.
Yes.
People don't want to live in the West because they don't want to put their children in an environment where they're being taught not just LGBT, because that was 10 years ago, let's say. Now it's the transgender thing. They don't want their child to be confused.
Yes.
They really are afraid. And it's not just Muslim people. People across the board, they're afraid that they're going to put their child in school and they're going to be allowed, or the teachers and the environment are going to enable an environment for them where they can start saying, I'm a boy and actually it's a girl that's speaking, or the opposite.
Yeah.
And so there has been a pushback, but the laws and the norms of the Western world, it makes it hard for them to go a little bit further and say, well, actually, we're going to ban certain things.
I like the point that you mentioned, what eventually leads to these LGBTQ things, right?
Yeah.
Is the so-called liberalism, right?
Yes.
That has kicked in like a form of religion. So maybe you can explain further, like, why do you say that in one of your speech that liberalism is actually a religion?
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it depends on how you define a thing is how you're going to get the answer. And obviously, if you look at the dictionary definitions, a lot of the dictionary definitions say, in order for something to qualify as a religion, it has to have divination and rituals and practices and, you know, worship and that kind of thing. But in sociology, many of the sociologists like Charles Taylor and others, they have a more broad definition of what religion is. And in our vernacular as Muslims, the word deen just means a way of life.
Yes.
And so really, that is an approach to say that liberalism is a way of life. It's a religion.
Yes.
And it's the dominant religion in the West right now. If someone were to ask, I mean, this is very interesting. There was a book written called, and this is a bit of a tangent, but I'll come back to the point, Orientalism by Edward Said. Okay,
Yes.
a very famous book that was written. And the thesis of the book, or the premise of the book, was that the way the Western people talk about, for example, Africans or Middle Easterners or Asians from the East, is as if they're basically animals, right? I don't know if you've seen this magazine called National Geographic.
Yes.
Pick up a National Geographic. It's very interesting. You literally see a monkey on page 1 and a black man on page 2. All right, and on page 3 you'll see a polar bear, and page 4 you'll see a Chinese man. It's that kind of thing, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's the Western arrogance. You know, we'll look at these people and these civilizations as if they're subject of inquiry and these kind of things. So let us respond in kind for now, right? If I were to do the same kind of thing and be very simplistic and generalizing of the Western civilization, I would say, look, the white man now, or his religion, is a myth. Is a combination of mythology, liberal, fictitious mythology, like Zeus and this kind of thing. They still believe in this kind of thing, but in a different way. In fact, liberalism starts from, I mean, if you look at Thomas Hobbes and these kind of things, it starts from a fiction.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a hypothetical state of nature. Thomas Hobbes, who many consider to be the founder of liberalism, he says that in the beginning, okay, this is his like Genesis account. In the beginning, you can imagine human beings fighting each other like savages.
Yes.
And so what was required was someone to come in and take charge. They give up their liberty in exchange for the social contract.
Yes.
And so liberalism is required. And then John Stuart Mill and what's his name? John Locke actually would add to that. The point is they have their own fictions. This stuff never happened. This hypothetical state of nature. And you can Google this. The liberal hypothetical state of nature. Yeah. It's a fiction.
Yeah.
It's fake. It's a fake story that they have created.
Yes.
But they need this fake story and mythology in order to create a worldview.
Yeah.
So their fake story starts with the hypothetical state of nature, that everyone's fighting each other, and therefore they require, you know, the state to come in and take control and have a social contract with the people, and then give them freedom in this way. And that's what we believe in, the freedom we believe in. It's basically a pseudo-Genesis account.
Yeah.
So they are, when I say white man, I'm not talking about all the white people, who have white Muslims, white Christians, white whatever. But for the most part, the white man, that's his religion. It's a liberal religion, okay, which is based on fictions and mythologies, just like they used to believe back in the days with Zeus and this kind of thing. They believe in Zeus. Now they believe in their own hypothetical state of nature. They have their own fictions. They have their own dramas. They have their own stories. It's like the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, so I maybe want to ask this question to both of you actually. All right, but what are your opinions when someone say that, you know, I'm a Muslim, but at the same time I'm liberal? So in that regard, does these two gel in well? You know, like for example, the book states that you have to wear hijab.
Yes.
No, but I choose not to wear hijab. Just not Muhammad hijab, of course. No, I choose not to wear hijab because I think it's not compulsory. I understand hijab in the different viewpoint. For example, I'll go with Brother Lim first, maybe a couple of minutes, and also I'll come back to you, bro. Yeah.
I'm a Muslim and I'm liberal.
Yes.
I think we need to define the word liberal. What kind of liberal are we referring to? Yeah, two kinds of liberal. You see, in Islam, sorry, I used the term zanni. You have various of opinion. This is liberal. What we are referring to is those extreme liberal. We're not referring to the normal liberal. We can have differences of opinion or things like that. But sometimes, most of the time, when we use the word liberal, we generalizing everything.
Yes.
So in that case, you liberal too. You say that this have this opinion, that opinion, you're liberal.
Yeah.
So we are referring to the extreme liberal. Are you telling me that the person said that I'm a Muslim, but I'm extreme liberal? So you have to give me specifically what are the things that, when you claim yourself to be liberal, are you telling me that, no, I believe all religions are the same? For example, if you were to say that, then that is extreme liberal.
Yeah.
Why? Because most religion, they committed shirk to Allah. Islam, with tawhid to Allah. So how can we say that we believe all religion is the same? There are similarity, but not the same. I don't deny that most religion will teach the followers to do good. But in Islam, good is not good enough. Good must come together with the word right. Good and right must move hand in hand. Just good alone is not good enough. Why I say that? You know the movie Robin Hood from Nottingham? I used to say Nottingham. My son would tell me, Daddy, that is wrong pronunciation. Okay, so Robin Hood, I think he's from Nottingham. If I'm not wrong.
Nottingham, yes.
So is he a good guy? Yes, he likes to help the poor, but is he the right guy?
Yes, he's doing right.
No, he steals the money from the rich and distribute it to the poor. So good but not right. In Islam, good and right must move hand in hand. So what are you referring to? So if you can give me more example, that will be much easier for me to elaborate about this.
I think it's there's a difference between having a liberal attitude, right? Because the word liberal, obviously, in a dictionary sense, it just means freedom. Okay.
Yes.
The word liberal etymologically is derived from the word liberalis, which means to have freedom and stuff. We're not talking about that usage, the dictionary definition usage of the word liberal. In that sense, many people consider us to be liberal, right? There's a staunch, the hardliners would say, this guy has very liberal attitude towards such and such liberal attitude towards such and such. From within our own Islamic, paradigms, people consider us to be liberal, right? But that's not what we're talking about. So what we are talking about is classical liberalism. We are talking about an ideology, a political ideology, which is divided into three things. It's divided into political, economic, and social. Okay, and just to define quickly, the political aspect is not where our major gripe is, because majorly the most liberals in the world, who are political liberals, believe in something called the social contract. And we don't have any problem with the social contract. The social contract is, even though they have their fictions behind it that I've just explained, human beings, they give their freedom in exchange for the security of the state. In many ways, we believe in the same thing. If you're in an Islamic state, we give up our freedoms to obey the law, and in exchange for the freedoms from the state. So that's political liberalism. Economic liberalism is supply side economics, free market economics. It can veer into capitalism, which we're not for, and riba we're not for, which is interest-based economies and so on. But in terms of free market economics, surprisingly, we're actually in line with that. We do believe in free market economics. We don't believe in a communist system, for example. Where we have the major gripe is actually on social liberalism. Because on social liberalism, and it can be defined this way, social liberalism really is that you can do whatever you want so long as you don't harm anyone else. And A and B, we still have issues, but they're not that major issues. I mean, we can have major issues, but the major issue is with C, social liberalism. And with social liberalism, it's this idea that I can do whatever I want so long as I don't harm anyone else. Jeremy Bentham, who was one of the architects of utilitarianism, which was then taken in by social liberalism, said the following in his book. He said, we have two gods. This is what he said. We have two lords. And I can remember reading this in university. We have the Lord of pain and the Lord of pleasure. That's the only two lords we have. At the heart of liberalism, therefore, and before him, John Locke was calling it the hedonistic principle. At the heart of social liberalism is this explicit idea, and it's not like, this is not a pejorative take on it. This is what their founding fathers say. This is what they actually believe. At the heart of liberalism is this idea that the one who gets to say what's right and wrong is you. You know what's best for yourself. And you know what's best for yourself based on what you find pleasurable and what you try and do by abstaining or removing pain from your life. Your God is the attraction of pleasure, the accruement of pleasure, and the removal of pain. And the best system is the one which has the most good or the most pleasure for the most number of people. That's essentially the idea, so long as you don't harm anyone else. What we say is that this idea itself is unsubstantiated. Many of the premises can be, like, for example, this idea that the human being knows what's best for themselves. What's the evidence that the human being knows what's best for themselves? For example, the idea that pleasure should be sought. What's the evidence that we should seek pleasure? If in all cases, and remove pain. There are many things we can do in our lives, virtuous things, which we could argue, which will be more painful for us, okay? But at the same time, it's good. It's pain, but it's good. In fact, the Quran says that, you know, you could hate something which is good for you.
Yes.
So there's so many presuppositions of what's called the hedonistic principle that it becomes very difficult to argue that this is an objective morality, a true morality, which is true in all cases in all times. So this is, when I say liberal, I mean by that social liberal. And there's two ways of using liberal in the West. Someone who believes in social liberalism, but everyone believes in it. So when I say everyone, the political spectrum in the West, they have something called the political spectrum. So you have left wing, and they have right wing, and they have centrists.
Yes.
Effectively, all of the people on this political spectrum are social liberals. I have not seen anyone argue against the social liberal with any vehemency. But there is liberals with a big L. Right. Okay, so the small L is pretty much everyone, including the Republicans, including, by the way, the neoconservatives. So you might think, oh, well, we've got right-wing people in America, Republicans and so on. They are neoconservatives. Neoconservatism is a kind of liberalism, actually, but liberalism with a small L.
Small L.
Yeah, small L liberalism. So they still believe in social liberalism. They still believe in freedom, because freedom of speech and expression are part of the gods of liberalism, by the way. If they had the god of liberalism as a harm principle, that's their Zeus. And then he has kids. One of them is called freedom of speech. It's one of the holy cows. Another holy cow is freedom of expression. That's where you'll find they do tawaf around that one. Freedom of expression, they go around it. And there's ways to break each of these holy cows, by the way. And there's another one is freedom of this and freedom of that, freedom of the human rights, their version of human rights. Of course, we have human rights as well, but their version of human rights. That's another cow that they have, the 30 articles of human rights. And they have and so on. So, but the point is that the liberal with the big L are left-wing people, basically. Are people who believe in LGBTQ, who believe in gender, fluidity, one of these kind of things. For the most part, that's what we're talking about. But the reason why I say that liberalism with a small L is the religion of the West is because effectively everyone on the political spectrum makes arguments with the premise of liberalism being true. Everyone makes those arguments.
Okay, so we're coming back to there's another question which links to this about Muslim and they are being liberal. I think there's a brother here. His name is Muhammad Shukri. He's asking this question. He's saying that some of my Muslim friends are still confused as such because they find that Muslims who perform 5 times Salah, even though they don't cover their awrat, are much better than Muslims who cover their awrat, but not really prioritizing their Salah. Is it liberal kind of thinking? Maybe you can give some view on this, and also Brother Inshallah.
The prayer is more important than covering the awrah.
Yes, obviously,
I mean, for the most part, yes. I mean, there are maybe extreme cases of the opposite, because there's something called al-awra al-mughallada, and I'm not sure if the awra al-mughallada is basically sorry to say, the penis or the anus or the vagina. Now, if a person does that, I mean, we would consider them to be either insane,
yes,
or extreme fasiq, like if someone's doing that. Whereas if someone is breaking their prayers, I mean, there's a discussion. There has to be a discussion about that, because if someone's going out and doing this, it's almost creating pornography.
Yes.
You find a lot of people saying, well, one prayer is like such and such, but let's be frank for a second. If someone's showing everything, and they're praying 5 times a day, either they're mentally, so we have to have a discussion about that. What I will say is, the prayer is the most important thing, obviously, in terms of worship.
Yes.
After the Shahada is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Tariq salah, someone who leaves off the prayer completely, I mean, that person is worse than someone, for example, the opposite person that they mentioned, Tariq al-Salah. That's something that's molten ijma'. But all the other things we can talk about, and there's going to be scholarly difference of opinion.
Well, I look at it, probably this question, if I understand the question correctly, I think we cannot compare these two.
Yeah.
Both are different. It's just like every Muslim, I use the word, either we use the word struggling, or I'll say that we are learning or to improve ourselves in various angles in Islam. Some of us, we can go to the mosque and perform 5 times prayer a day very easily.
Yeah.
Some people, it's so difficult.
Struggle.
So what I'm trying to say is that if this person, this sister, for example, she prays 5 times a day, but she doesn't cover her aura. She passed this test, she failed this test.
Yes.
To make things easy. But we cannot lump both together. Sometimes, I remember I had an experience that I went to someone's house during the Eid holidays, and they invited many people. Suddenly, this person, the Haji, the owner of the house, the wife came out and served us food, and she doesn't cover her aura. So the guest asked, "What happened, Haji? Why you a Haji? You allow your wife doesn't cover her aura?" So the wife heard about it, was very upset. She said, "Even I don't cover aura, but I'm a good Muslim. I'm good. But a lot of people who cover aura, but they are bad. They don't pray. They backbite people and so on." For me, these two things are totally different. For example, she didn't cover aura. She performed her prayer. Passed this test, failed this test. The other one, cover aura, passed the test of aura, failed the test of salat. So we cannot, just because of I didn't cover aura, therefore my prayer is not valid. No. Your prayer is valid.
Yes.
Or it's just because of I cover aura, so I don't have to whatever argument that you do. But we cannot lump all these things together. We have to discuss it one by one. Then we are all actually trying to improve each and every one. Actually, we try to improve.
And on this point, I think it's important to note that some of the examples, some of the du'at make about prayer and missing fajr and stuff like that are actually very wrong. Like I've come across fatwas and people saying, well, the person who misses fajr, it's like he's left Islam.
Yes.
Or let's say, for example, someone who frankly, this is one of the most ridiculous fatwas I've ever seen. Someone who sets their alarm 5 minutes after fajr time or something, and then they wake up, shuruq time, whatever, and they wake up at that time and they pray this time. They're kafir, actually.
No, stop. That's quite extreme.
Do you know what I mean? And then someone who, sorry to say, commits zina and kills his mother and does this and that is better than the one who's 5 minutes. It's not
that makes sense.
As we would say. This is not true. It's not true.
Every time we receive anything that we feel that this is funny or something wrong somewhere, first thing we do is just apply the 2 verses. First, this is in the Quran, in Surah Hujarat chapter 49, verse number 6. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu ija'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. Allah asks us to investigate first. Whether what he say, is it authentic or not.
Yes.
Lately in our country, we have an ustad and repeat and again talk something similar to that. If you look at your teacher's face, all right, it's better for you to slaughter 1,000 horses.
Yes.
Where do you get all this idea from?
Yes. Yeah, this is having this funny. If I can add a few points to this question, right? It just I can relate to this because from where I'm coming from, it's a neighboring country. I see a woman who goes to the masjid without hijab. They will go to the toilet, they get changed, and they pray. And when they leave the masjid, they open their hijab and their prayer costume. Then after that, they went off with skirt. It's quite normal. But why they had to do that is because they are living in a minority Muslim country. And also under some circumstances, they are not allowed to wear hijab.
So in that context is important.
That context. And also for me, I think like this brother asked a question that some of his friends are still confused. Sometimes we must understand that also maybe the person that you are seeing who misses some of the salat and or maybe they don't cover their don't wear hijab. Maybe they have their own struggles. They are actually trying their best, right? They have their own struggles. They're trying their best. They're trying to change. It's just like a matter of time.
Yeah, honestly, we got to give people chance and time.
Of course,
I mean,
obviously.
because you've got to think about if this was your sister.
Yeah.
I know it's a very cliche thing, but if your sister was not wearing hijab,
Yeah.
how would you approach her in order to convince her of that?
Exactly.
If it was your mother, if your mother doesn't wear hijab, how would you do it? Would you start giving her nahi and munkar in a very hard manner? Because let's be honest, you know and I know that's not going to get the best result.
Yes. Yes.
I noticed that in our society, we like to focus on pray, hijab, fast, what all these do and don'ts first.
Yeah.
For me, I still prefer to focus on the fundamental.
Yes.
One, if their understanding of Islam is clear,
Yes.
if you build the foundation
Yes.
strong,
Yes.
and the rest of the thing will come to place.
Yes.
Unfortunately today, most people like to focus about hijab.
Yeah.
But we don't want to know whether his akidah, his understanding of Islam, is it good? We don't care about it. We just want you to pray. We just want you to put on your hijab. We just want you to fast. But for me, through my experience for 27 years, I've been talking about Islam. I
Wow.
realized that
It's a long time. I thought you were 30 yourself, maybe. You must have been talking about Islam as a toddler then.
now, I realized that when I focus on building the fundamental, the akidah, okay, you will discover things that which is very, very unique.
Yeah.
They themselves will slowly dress well when
Yeah.
they come for the class, and after 6 months, 1 year, or even 2 years, they
Yeah.
started to put on hijab. You don't have to ask them to do so.
Yeah,
They
they'll
will
do it
put on
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we are focused so much on pray, hijab, but we don't focus about understanding fundamental. So for me, I think, as I say, I always like to tell people that if you remember how Allah revealed the Quran to Prophet Muhammad SAW, initially the Quran was revealed in Makkah for 13 years. Majority verses was revealed to him. It's talk about Aqidah of fiqh. We all know that it's about Aqidah. Why Aqidah? It's about the pillar of the building. It's a fundamental. So why Allah took 13 years? Why? Can you imagine? This companion embraced Islam for 13 years. Allah talked about Aqidah.
Yeah.
Give us an idea. You look at high-rise building.
Yeah.
I never come across a high-rise building before they built the foundation well. They
That's
started to build the wall and the ceiling. I never come across either.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Otherwise, it would fall down.
That's the
Collapse.
reason. So
Yeah.
13 years is about Aqidah. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Like alcohol. For the first 13 years, there are some companions who embrace Islam in Mecca. They are still drinking.
Yep.
When Allah make it haram, not in Mecca,
Not straight away.
it's in Medina, until up to the year of 17.
Wow.
17 years later, only Allah revealed the verse to make it haram. Today, when people are close to Islam, people who want to embrace Islam, we immediately tell them it is haram. Is it the right approach?
It's not.
Hijab. Allah took 19 years towards the end of the wahyu, the revelation. 19 years. Today, if a sister embraces Islam, you pass it to the sister here, you know what's in the mind? It's not the pillar of Islam. It's not the article of faith. Again, in your mind is hijab. So sometimes, even if you want them to put on hijab also, do you think about how dangerous is for that reverse?
Yeah.
If the parent knew about it,
Yeah.
if the employer knew about it,
Yeah.
what will happen to them?
Yep.
So again, for me, is that I prefer to do step by step.
That's the right way.
That's the reason.
That's
If
the right
you
way,
want to go to the mosque, I don't know, in your country,
Yeah.
in my country, we have a lot of people go to the mosque, but mostly are old people.
Yeah.
They are close.
Yeah.
Not close people. Old people and close to the grave people. Why the young people do not go to the mosque? Why the young people are not interested to study about the religion? Because we started with all the do and don't. It's just like a building without a pillar. You started to build the wall and the ceiling.
Yeah.
Pressure.
And it's interesting because we started this by talking about liberalism. Okay.
Yes.
And liberalism is the extreme on the other side.
Yeah.
And there are two extremes here in terms of attitude you can have, right? Towards religion or towards life itself.
Yep.
One of the extremes is to let everything happen. In fact, it's very interesting because I done some research some time ago for the Sapiens Institute. Obviously, I'm part of the Sapiens Institute, and this research is online. You can find parts of it in an essay that I wrote called "The Scientific Deceptions of the New Atheists." Yes, you can download this on Sapiens for free. But the point is that what I was interested in, why and how did Western people become irreligious? And one of the key points I found in that time period was in the 1960s. 1960s, they had, the civil rights movement and all that, but they also had all this kind of sexual revolution and these kind of revolutions, right? Where liberalism took full form. And what's really interesting is that I started to think to myself, and I did corroborate this with a lot of sociologists, what is the connection between liberalism and irreligiosity? And it would seem to me that if you tell a child, okay, in primary socialization, they tell a child, you can choose whatever you want. They end up making no decision whatsoever. So when you're raising a child, and this is what we saw, the sentiment had changed. People in the West were saying to the kids, instead of saying, you have to be a Christian now, or you have to be whatever it is, Protestant, Catholic, blah, blah. They're saying now, you can make whatever decision you're making. You go ahead and make that decision. As a result of giving them the decision to make, they made no decision whatsoever. So that's one extreme. I would call it the liberal extreme. The other extreme is the hardliner extreme. Now, let's say, for example, you have conservative parents, they're Muslim, they're traditionalists, they may be Jewish, they may be some other religion, whatever it may be. But they use the gag approach, the approach of let's smother the child. Let's tell them everything is wrong very early. They may have a 7-year-old, sorry to say, who's playing with genitalia or something like that. And then the mother starts shouting and screaming at him and saying, if you keep doing that, it's going to fall off, and that is, you know what I mean? And then after, in fact, interestingly, studies have been done on this. There was one particular study with Freud, with a boy called Hans. I don't know if you come across it. It's a very interesting study, but it makes the kid come up and even act more sexually promiscuous. This is according to psychoanalytic theory. So sometimes when you impose too much restrictions, it has the exact adverse effect. So for example, if you keep talking about homosexuality, this is wrong, it's an abomination, and if you use that language, that's wrong, but the way I'm not saying you shouldn't say it's wrong, but if it becomes an obsession now, it's very likely, based on psychoanalytic theory and based on some of the evidence that we have as well, that can create curiosity in the mind of the child, and it can actually have the exact adverse effect. Could make them interested in homosexuality. Now, do you know what I mean? So there's two extremes. There's the liberal extreme, which is just do whatever you want, though I'm not going to make a decision for you. And then there's the smothering, hardliner, staunch approach extreme, which the interesting is that both of those extremes lead to the same outcome. You lead to a liberal child. You lead to a child that's suppressed and has had enough. And you're telling him you can't get married. I don't know how it is in Malaysia, but you can't get married until you're 35. Okay, so what are they going to do? What do you expect them to do? No, honestly. What do you expect them to do from the age 18? Forget about 18, 14, maybe even 12. Whenever they start thinking about these things, until 35 years, what do you want them to do? Oh, you have to finish your education, you have to do this, you have to get a job, you have to get a house, you have to blah, 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 blah. Now this guy's 31 years old, and he's going to get married for the first time. But what do you think he's done in that time period? What do you think the sins he's accumulated? Look what you've done to him. You've ruined him. Now he can't be as he would be if. So what I'm saying is that societal expectations, taking it too far, the hardliner approach. Islam is not like that. Like, for example, the Prophet said, "Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, man istata'a minkum ba'a falyatazawwaj." Whoever can, get married young. The Prophet encouraged it. Okay. One person came to the Prophet. He said, I'm going to fast every day. The other one said, I'm never going to touch my wife. The other one said, I'm going to pray all night. And all three of them were rebuked by the Prophet Muhammad because it was going too far. Likewise, and I'm going to be controversial here a little bit. Okay, let me be controversial. There are some societies and some Muslim countries, like I was speaking to one person from one province in a country, and he said to me, listen, I've never seen a woman in my life. This is what he said to me. He said to me,
how old is he?
He said, when I was 18, in the streets, I've never saw what a woman looks like. I've never seen it. Maybe once or twice I've seen it. But in my area, my village, I never saw a woman walking in the streets. A few times I saw it. I don't know if this guy was exaggerating or not, but I was actually appalled by it.
Yeah.
I said, isn't it true that in your province there's actually a rise in homosexuality?
Yeah.
And he had to admit, yes, there is. Yes. I said, do you think that your approach towards women is very unhealthy, frankly? That you want to exclude them from the public sphere altogether? That's not the way of the Prophet. I mean, sorry to say, there's hadith of the Prophet himself speaking to women.
Yes.
There's a hadith in Bukhari which says this slave girl took the Prophet Muhammad and walked with him in Medina.
Yeah.
There's a hadith saying that there's ayah in the Quran that's saying that the Prophet had a debate with a woman.
Women complain to the Prophet.
Yes,
He will be surrounded by the men all the time.
So
We don't have the chance to ask
that's
questions.
what I'm saying. So if you go too far in this direction,
Yeah.
okay, because we're talking about the ills of liberalism, but there's also the ills of ultra conservatism.
Yes.
Okay, taking it to, because it ends up in the same box. You end up being a liberal.
Yeah, I agree.
So there is a middle
Yeah,
ground, and it's the
agreed.
Islamic middle ground. It's the perfect middle ground. But we really have to follow the Sunnah and stop trying to impose more than is necessary.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
That's why Islam become more difficult. Sometimes we have certain scholar, you know, they started to make it's too easy to make things haram.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, you cannot look at the girl. It's haram.
Yeah.
No. So sometimes they want to block the means. I understand that.
Yes.
Blocking the means.
Said the Quran,
Yeah. Yeah. But the problem is that they are making, you know, so as if like almost everything become haram so easily.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah.
Even the Prophet, you know, the women who complained to him that, you know, you are always surrounded by men. The man can ask you anything. But women, we don't have a chance. And the Prophet said, you look for a place here, public area.
Yeah.
I will be there to answer all your questions.
Every Thursday was his. They gave him for the woman. Yeah.
So brothers, because we're talking about, let's talk about da'wah here.
Yeah,
So we are almost finishing actually.
Sure.
Yeah. So maybe to summarize, right, about the different contexts, like the challenges you're facing in the West and the challenges that we are facing in the East. There might be two different complex areas, I would say. So in your opinion, to conclude this, how do you think we can reach a middle ground, like in terms of applying or taking the sources from Quran and the Sunnah to have like it doesn't mean have to be the same. Like for example, right, there are techniques like in the West that they have like GORAP, but in the East, Brother Lim has CVC.
Yeah.
You have never heard about it, and Brother Lim have heard about GORAP. You know, some people said, you know, this methodology is applicable throughout the world. Anywhere you go, this is the best methodology.
Yeah.
But to the people in the East, they said that, oh, maybe it doesn't work here. I think there is another way of explaining this. Because like you asked me, how are the people in Southeast Asia? I told you that we are very conservative. We don't talk about religion like too loudly, like how you guys did in Speaker's Corner. If you do that here, you will know what will happen.
I will visit in prison.
I will have to bail you out. Yeah, you know, but you see, so what in your opinion, to conclude this, how do you think that we should look into the sources like the Quran and the Sunnah to come to a middle point, that
Common term.
a common term where East and the West can come together and agree on certain methodology on the application towards the different groups?
Well, for me, I think there is no one method of da'wah. There's no one method for all. No. We need to learn different methods from different countries, different part of the world, that, you know, when you use the right method to the right people. But there's no such thing. I know a lot of people might think that, oh, this is the best method. The best method is when you use to the right people. If you're using this method to these people, it's just like, for example, sorry, I'm not trying to pull down this methodology. It's very good. GORAP is very good. But when you use it to a Taoist, it doesn't work. For example, but when you started to use it for the Christian, for the Jew, it's really, really effective. For example, so that's why we need to learn many methodology, many different approach. Okay, then apply it accordingly, and we must always continuously, I use the word, keep thinking of a better better way of da'wah, because time, previously, if you look at the time during 1980s, 1990s, you look at Didat, his approach is so successful.
Yeah.
But now you use the same approach as you, it's difficult, because the other side of the people already know this question. They already have find the answer. Even the scholars, some of the missionary already, reply to it.
Yes.
But for people who have heard the first time initially, it's a big problem for them. So I believe that technique must keep upgrading, keep improving, keep finding another better way. I would say that contemporary approach.
Yeah.
And use the right approach for the right people. So we not necessarily that we can, make the West to accept the East, or make the East to accept the West methodology. Because when the when the West people, they create a methodology, it's actually suitable for their place. It's just like GoRap. You go to England, they go to United Kingdom. I believe that it's so effective. Believe me, I've been there. I see the way they approach is very effective. So, but the moment you go to other part of the world, or a certain country, you go to a Buddhist country, probably this methodology is difficult. Yeah. So that's why I say keep learning many technique, many approach. And I believe that if you apply the right approach to the right people, then only the approach will be effective.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a very good summary, to be honest.
Yeah. MashaAllah. Okay, so what would you say, because this program, mashallah, is being sponsored by Quranly, yeah? How does, we know that the people behind Quranly, basically. So how do you think about this? How do you think that it can be beneficial for the Ummah?
I think Quranly is a pioneering app, actually. It's got these kind of gamified features inside of it. It's the designers have actually worked really well to channel people's inner addiction to the Quran.
MashaAllah.
It's given them, because it's got these kinds of things where you can, as you're reading the Quran, it tells you how many points you've got.
Yeah.
People love that kind of thing nowadays,
Yep.
And to now attach it to the Quran. Look, nowadays in self-help, people are connected to like habits and stuff. There's a book that's become very famous now. It's called The Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm not sure if you've come across it. And the idea behind all these books is that every day you should be doing something and building habits. And there's nothing better to build a habit with than the Quran. And what Quranly does is it helps you build a habit and quantifies your habit tracking. And the fact that they've done it now in Bahasa language.
I think this is the istiqamah that we do a bit by bit every day.
Yes.
That is the best. This is what the Prophet says.
It's amazing. It's
And
amazing.
recently they have launched the Bahasa as well, right?
They have launched Bahasa, and I think, if people are in this part of the world, they should really download this app, because it can make a massive difference in their life. I really do think so.
Inshallah. All right. Jazakallah khair. We have come to the end of the program, inshallah. Maybe you have 1 minute to give any shout out, Brother Lim, Brother Hijab.
No, shout out to you guys. You've been brilliant hosts. I have to make that public, and I like to, because when I go across the world, I've given lectures in about 20 different countries, multiple times. I've done the count the other day, just to see 20 different countries, multiple times, and you guys have been one of the best hosts, mashallah.
Jazakallah khair.
So I really appreciate that, and it shows that you guys are experienced not just in giving dawah, but dealing with du'at in a good way and dealing people management, and that's as important, if not sometimes even more important than that. So, mashallah, thank you so much for that.
Barakallah fiik. Most welcome. Brother Lim, what do you respond to that?
Well, I think his closing remark, I think, is excellent. I think
Maybe I should have made that remark after tomorrow.
Just can't wait. Yeah. Okay, so inshallah, we have to get prepared for the next session, inshallah. So, to conclude everything, we'd like to thank everyone who's watching online and also joining us here in our program. And we hope that this type of programs where we invite international du'ats to share their views, to share the common platform with our du'ats here locally, we can benefit more and also reach out to more people, inshallah. So to the brothers and sisters who are watching, I know there are many comments flowing in through YouTube, through Facebook, etc. Sorry we couldn't take all your questions, but inshallah in time to come, do join earlier so that your questions can be us during the session, inshallah. So for those of you who like to contribute towards the causes that we have in IDT, there's an account number displayed on your screen. And also, of course, we'd like to thank our media partner, Media Pro, and also the organizers, IDT and the DAWAH Academy International. If you'd like to know more about the programs that we organize in IDT or in DAI, you can always visit our website, which is www.dawah.my. You can get all the information there, inshallah. So once again, brothers and sisters, thank you for watching. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.